second piece in this little week project is called word art. All right? And I'm going to show you some examples, and then we'll talk about it. This is word art. Okay? The idea behind this assignment is that you're picking a song lyric, a quote, something you're gonna need something that's relatively long, or it will be harder to fill the words in. Okay? So the first step is to find the quote that you want to use, and the second step is to use a word that you're going to shape that word, those words into. The word you choose should sort of match the quote or the lyric. All right. To give you an example, like this is Tick, okay, and the whole idea is this whole thing is from Alice in Wonderland. Okay. This is the entire song of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the theme song. Okay, and it's put into the word fresh. All right. So you've got the quote or the lyric or whichever that you're going to choose. All right. And then you've got to figure out the word you want to put it into. All right. Then you've got to figure out the font you want to use to fill that in. You can use 2 different fonts if you'd like. Okay. But that's max. You can also take 1 or 2 pieces of art and kind of stick them in, as you can see a couple of these samples have. You don't have to. It can be 1 font, like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is, with no imagery. Okay, but if you want to use some vector art to kind of break it up, then you can do that. All right. So you can see some of these are deep and meaningful, and some are just silly and light. Okay. But if you look at this one where it says, hey, you can read it. That's the key. Okay, is that you can read it. So it says, at any given time today in America, there are about 500,000 people who are homeless. They don't have a permanent, safe, decent, affordable place to live. Around the world, there are 100 million homeless people, and many of them are women and children. So the objective is that you want to be able to read it. Okay, and in this country, we read left to right, top to bottom. Okay? And so you have to think about that, and that's what this person did. This was Dylan when she did this. Thought about how people were going to read it. Top to bottom, left to right. All right? So not only does it have to all fit in, but it has to be readable. Follow so far? Okay? So these are just some of the examples of students that have done it. You can do a black background, do white text. Really doesn't matter. You'll notice how the fonts really match the feel of the piece. Okay? Once you get going on this does not take a long time. Okay? And it can look really, really cool. So the specs of it are pretty simple. Choose your quote, song, lyric, whatever. All right? Choose the word you want to use, and you're going to begin creating it in Illustrator. It's an 11 by 8.5, so it's just a letter size turned over. All right? Your font choice should match the mood and feeling of the quote. It's going to be created in Illustrator. You can use 2 fonts, but you're not required. You can use 2 colors, but you're not required. And you can add 1 or 2 pieces of vector art to fill in the space. Again, not required. All you're going to hand in is a PDF. Okay, does that make sense? Okay?
I'm trying to call you, Mr. Reed.
Okay, I'm doing a presentation.
Miles is being dismissed.
Okay. So, follow so far? All right. So, basically the start of this process. How are you going to do it? All right. So I've created an Illustrator document that is 11 by 8.5. All right. And I've got my quote right here. All right. There are a bunch of different ways you can work this out. I have found that it makes sense that the words you're going to scale in size should be in their own little text frame. In other words, if I was going to start off with the word your, I would take this and cut it and basically click and paste. Okay? And then I can scale it.
I know I'm going to be doing a print on that.
All right? So, first thing I want to do is figure out the word. So this quote is from, where did I pull this one from? This is from Steve Jobs. Okay? So maybe I start with, I'm going to use the word apple. All right? And I'm going to scale it up. Now remember, in Illustrator, if you click and drag and have typed inside, you scale the box and it does nothing. Okay? So in a project like this, you're just going to want to click and type. Okay? So I have this word. I would suggest that once you get the word that you want, you're going to want to find a relatively heavy, thick font to work inside of. Okay? That's the easiest way to do it. So I might go in here and I'll probably just stick with Arial Black. All right? And I'll scale this to be about the size of the page. Then I'm going to turn it into outline like this. Okay? Then I'm going to go ahead and make another layer. And this is just going to be the word. And this will be the quote. All right? Because I want to lock this layer. Everybody following along so far? This is pretty basic. Okay? Now I'm going to start with my kind of figuring out where I'm going to put things. All right? So here's my quote. Okay? Now, you can be mathematical about this. You can say, I've got A-P-P-L-E. I got 5 letters. And my quote is 100 words. So I'm going to put 20 words in. Make sense? You want to do it that way. Sometimes that helps people to be mathematical about it. You can just kind of start and start to fill in as you go. All right? But what happens is you don't want to be done at the end of E and go, oh, crap, I got 25 more words I still have to fit in here. So you got to sort of think it through in terms of what you want to go through. So I would suggest kind of the math formula makes the best sense. Figure out how many words you have. Figure out how many letters you have in your word and then divide it. Does that part make sense? Yes? No? Okay? So I've got my quote here, and Steve Jobs, it's a pretty basic quote, pretty kind of business-like. So I might find a font that kind of fits it. I'm going to go with sans serif. All right? And something lighter. All right? And I kind of like that. All right? So I'm going to set that as my font. Okay? I have found when I do this that all caps works a lot easier than initial caps or basically sentence title cased, because I don't have a lot of the A centers and D centers, but it's your call. All right? So what I would do is I would start off here with the word your, and I'm going to cut it out of here. I'm going to click, and I'm going to paste it. And then I'm going to scale it. Now, for some of these, you may want to turn them into outlines so that you can kind of really manipulate. But for now, I'm going to stick without it. And I'm going to come down here, all right, and I'm actually going to change the case on this. To uppercase, okay? And I'm going to squeeze this down, and I'm going to start right here like this. And that makes my life pretty easy. All right? And then I would grab the next word, which is work. And I'm actually just going to go here and change the case altogether so I have it. Here we go. I'm going to grab work. Okay, and I'm going to paste that down. And then I'm going to start to figure out, I have an extra space here, where I want to put this. So let's say I need 10 words in this letter. I'm going to start off by kind of figuring out how I want to place it in. Now, on like a letter A, I've got this space in between. So do I want people to read over it, or do I want people to read down? Your call. Okay? So for now, I'm just going to play with going like this. Okay? And kind of tucking it in like that. All right? And again, you see the idea. So I might take is going and make that just one, because I don't think is needs to be on its own for now. And, whoops, come over here. All right? Now, if I want to, I can go here, okay, and I can create outlines. I would do that so I could play with maybe one of these letters stretching down. Okay, if I wanted to go, for instance, all right, if I wanted to go down here, okay, I could take this, create outlines, and not that you'd really want to do this, but I could pull these down to kind of go along here. Again, you really wouldn't want to do that, but you get the idea why you might want to make outlines. All right? As you're working, you can go to your layers and you can hide the word and see your shape start to develop. Okay? Things that can help with readability sometimes, colors. So if I'm using black and red, okay, I might take black and gray, because that's what Apple has a lot of silver in their logo. I could, tie in the words in gray that I want them to kind of follow and help the eyes follow through. Okay? But the objective here is to take the words and manipulate them into the shape of the word that you choose. Okay? If you're going to choose a 3-letter word, you might need a shorter quote. It's really kind of up to how you play with it. or a quote that you really like. You might already have a quote or a song lyric or something you want to use. All right? You want to have it relatively long. I'd say a couple of sentences. Otherwise, if I go through this instead, and I just sit here and I sort of boringly go like this, and I take this, and I go like this, okay? It's not going to look that good. All right? You really want the space to be filled. So if you look at the examples I've got up on our site, all right, you can see there's not a lot of space there. The words are really tightly put together. That's what makes the visual, all right, is the fact that the words are kind of put together. It's not just two big words. It shouldn't be like 5 words and the thing's done. Okay? So that's kind of going to be the start of it. You'll kind of get going. Again, I would suggest that you figure out how long your quote is, how many words you have, how many letters you have in your word, and sort of divide. Start from there. Then you know, okay, I have to fit 5 letters into this word. I have to fit 5 letters into this word. I have to fit 12 into this one, or however you want to do it. Does that make sense? Okay? So this is the second little project. Like I said, once you get started on this and you start rolling, many of you will have this done in a few days. Okay, if not 2. All right, and it's just a nice little break to take from ad design. Okay? All right, you don't have to do any sketches, anything like that. You can get right started. Go for it.